Jillian, let's bring in former Clinton pollster and advisor Mark Penn, now chairman and CEO at Stagwell Inc. Mark, welcome.
Thank you.
Senator Warnock appears to be leading in the polls, but since the red wave never materialized, does polling really matter, Mr. Pollster?
Well, I think polling actually has been pretty accurate in the Georgia Senate race. It was last time. All the polls showed a very close race, and there was one. So I would believe the polls in Georgia. I think that was a reasonable poll done by the AARP. I think it shows Warnock has an edge. He hasn't necessarily put it away. Turnout will be important. Will the Democrats get, young people voting in a runoff election? So far, they've been very successful in turnout. In fact, I think the overperformance by Democrats was largely that they were more successful at the turnout game than they were so much that the polls were wrong.
AARP State Director for Georgia says, quote, Georgia residents want their leaders to provide solutions to inflation and the rising cost of living, preserve democracy, and protect their health and financial security. The message is clear. If these candidates want to win the U.S. Senate seat, they should pay attention to the issues that matter to Georgians 50 plus. What about that? Older voters typically show up, right?
Well, I certainly hope that's true. As you can see from the reporter, a lot of the charges back and forth are about, personal actions. I think Walker has been on the defensive of questions about his personal actions. So it hasn't been so much about the issues for him. I think Warnock's running a smart campaign to go after kind of the middle or moderate voters. And I think that Walker's challenge is to get back to the issues and overcome the personal attacks he has. If he can do that, he might do a little better.
Let's talk swing and independent voters and their importance from a Wall Street Journal op-ed from William Galston. Quote, swing voters still exist, and they pay attention to party selection of candidates and issues. Mobilization of the party faithful is necessary but not sufficient. Persuasion of voters who see the strengths and weaknesses of each side is essential. Our politics would improve if both parties made their appeals to a wider range of voters. What about that appeal to folks in the middle?
I couldn't agree with Bill Galston more. I have always believed, as I used to say, swing is king. And that, if you think of the math, if there are 10 voters and they're 5-5, you switch one, it's 6-4. If you bring somebody in turnout, it's only 6-5. So there's incredible power of getting a swing voter. And not only that, it brings the country together. I mean, that's what's interesting to me about what DeSantis did in Florida. He really brought over people who were Democrats and voted Democratic in large numbers, so he appealed to the swing voters. Most of this contest nationally and a lot of the other Senate races, it was really just about bringing out the base, and that's why they were always 2 or 3 points one direction, because when you just bring out the base, it remains a divided country. In fact, I think the net of the election is that we remain a divided country, but I'd like to see more candidates go back to courting swing voters, which necessarily unites the country after Election Day. And I'm disappointed when campaigns don't.
Mark Penn, thank you so much for your time and your analysis today.
Thank you.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.